1, The Carolers. It begins on a quiet December night. The Harris family, nestled in their countryside home, hears distant singing drifting through the still air. It's faint but unmistakable, a classic carol, sung in perfect harmony. Curious, the family peers outside and sees them. 7 figures in dark cloaks, faces hidden, standing just at the edge of the snowy woods. Each night the figures return, coming a step closer to the house. Their singing is mesmerizing, and yet something feels wrong. The melody doesn't stop when the doors are shut or the windows closed. The youngest child, Mia, starts humming the tune in her sleep, her voice eerily matching the otherworldly harmony. One night, the father, David, decides to confront them. As he steps outside, the carolers stop singing and turn their heads toward him. Their faces are hollow, their mouths gaping black voids. He retreats, slamming the door, but it's too late. The song is inside now, and it won't stop until the family joins the eternal choir. 2. The Gift of Shadows. On Christmas morning, 8-year-old Ellie finds a strange gift under the tree. The box is wrapped in black paper, tied with a crimson ribbon, and bears no tag except the word Santa. Inside is a snow globe depicting their very house, surrounded by a miniature forest. As Ellie shakes it, flakes swirl, and shadowy figures appear, moving through the rooms of the tiny house. At first, they seem harmless, like black smoke drifting aimlessly. But over the next few days, the shadows grow bolder. They linger outside her bedroom door in the globe, and soon Ellie starts seeing them in real life. Her parents dismiss her fears until the shadows begin appearing in their dreams, whispering promises of eternal peace. Desperate, the family tries to destroy the snow globe, but each attempt ends with it reappearing unscathed under the tree. The only way to escape the curse is to pass the gift on. But who would they condemn in their place? Nashtas 3, The Midnight Sleigh. On Christmas Eve, Jack, a widowed father, hears a faint jingle outside his farmhouse. Looking out the window, he sees an old sleigh gliding silently across the fields, pulled by skeletal reindeer with glowing eyes. The driver is a hooded figure with a long, crooked staff, his face obscured. The townsfolk warn him about the midnight sleigh, a legend of a cursed vehicle that collects lost souls on Christmas Eve. Those who hear its bells are marked, disappearing without a trace by morning. Jack doesn't believe in ghost stories until his daughter Lily vanishes from her room that very night. Determined to save her, Jack follows the sleigh into the woods. He discovers the driver is an ancient being, once Nicholas's twin brother, cursed to wander eternally after betraying the Christmas spirit. Jack offers his own soul in exchange for Lily's, but the driver reveals a cruel twist. He never intended to take Lily. She followed willingly, seeking her late mother, whose soul the sleigh already carries. The Frozen Choir. A group of college friends seeking a unique Christmas experience decides to visit an abandoned cathedral rumored to host ghostly choirs. They arrive on Christmas Eve, marveling at the grand, frost-covered architecture. As the clock strikes midnight, the doors freeze shut. The temperature plummets, and the sound of a choir echoes through the empty halls. Looking up, the friends see ghostly figures in the choir loft, their translucent faces glowing faintly. The hymns they sing are beautiful yet haunting, and as the friends listen, they hear their own secrets woven into the verses. One by one, the choir reveals the sins and regrets of each friend, betrayal, lies, even bloodshed. The friends argue, turning on one another, as the choir's singing grows louder and more accusatory. When the final hymn begins, the ghosts descend, their glowing faces now skeletal, ready to deliver judgment. The 12 Nights. The Thompsons rent a remote mountain cabin to escape the city for Christmas. The first night is peaceful, but on the second, strange things begin to happen. Faint footsteps on the roof, a tapping at the windows. Each night the phenomena escalate. By the 6th night, they hear whispers coming from the fireplace, speaking in an old language they don't understand. The family finds an old diary hidden under the floorboards, written by a previous occupant. The entries describe the 12 Nights curse, warning that if anyone remains in the cabin on Christmas morning, they'll never leave. The diary ends abruptly, the final page splattered with something dark and dried. As the 12th night approaches, the Thompsons prepare to flee, but the snowstorm has cut off all exits. The phenomena become violent. Furniture moves on its own, shadows stalk the halls, and the whispers grow deafening. On Christmas morning, the family wakes to find themselves locked in, the windows frosted over with words, "You stayed, now you belong." 6. The Red Lanterns. Briarwood is a sleepy village nestled deep in the woods where every family participates in the old Christmas tradition of setting out red lanterns to honor the dead. Each year, the villagers light these lanterns in front of their homes, believing they guide the spirits of loved ones back to the afterlife. This year, the Millers have moved into an old, creaky house at the edge of town. They've heard the stories, but dismissed them as superstition. On Christmas Eve, they light their lantern, only to wake the next morning to find a second, unfamiliar red lantern glowing outside their door. The lantern isn't theirs, yet the fire is warm and the light flickers with a strange urgency. As night falls, the village is quiet. The Millers dismiss their unease, but something feels wrong. Their son, Lucas, begins to have vivid dreams of a woman calling his name from the woods, her face obscured by shadows, her voice sweet and beckoning. Each dream is accompanied by the echo of a bell, faint but growing louder. The next night, the wind howls through the trees, and the lantern on the porch flickers unnaturally. The cold breeze brings with it a faint scent of roses and decay. The voice calls again, but now it's louder, sharper. "Come to me," it whispers. Lucas, in a trance, begins to walk toward the woods, drawn by the voice. In the eerie silence, the family realizes too late that the red lanterns are not just for the dead. They are a curse. When the lanterns are placed, they invite the spirits of the unquiet dead to cross over. And if a family acknowledges the lantern, they will be claimed. Lucas is not the first victim of the red lanterns, and the Millers soon discover that the woman calling to him was once the spirit of a girl who died in a snowstorm and who now seeks to take others to her frozen grave. 7. The Christmas Snowman. The night before Christmas, in a quiet suburban neighborhood, the Mitchell family wakes up to an unsettling surprise. A large snowman stands in their front yard, perfectly sculpted, with coal-black eyes and a jagged smile. They had no time to build it. The snow had only started falling hours earlier. At first, they laugh it off as a neighbor's prank, but as the days pass, the snowman becomes more unsettling. Its arms, initially made of branches, begin to twist and contort as if moving on their own. Its coal eyes seem to follow them wherever they go. Each time they glance out the window, the snowman seems closer to the house. Things escalate quickly. One night, after hearing strange scraping sounds outside, the Mitchells discover that the snowman is gone. In its place are large, frozen footprints leading toward their front door. As they investigate, the house grows colder. A deep, bone-chilling cold that no amount of heat seems to chase away. That night, they hear the tapping of frozen fingers on their windows. The snowman has come to life, and its twisted grin spreads wider as it watches them from outside. The family attempts to melt it with boiling water, but it does nothing. The snowman's form only seems to grow stronger. The next day, when they wake up, the snowman is standing just outside their bedroom window, peering in. The Mitchells must now find a way to destroy the snowman for good. But with each failed attempt, the creature grows more powerful, and it seems the snowman is connected to something much darker, an ancient winter spirit that was cursed to wander for eternity, creating snowmen from the souls of its victims. 8. The Haunting of the Nutcracker. The Dawson family's Christmas traditions are simple: decorating the tree, baking cookies, and gathering around the fireplace. This year, they decide to unbox an old nutcracker passed down from Grandma June, a family heirloom that had been stored in the attic for years. The moment the nutcracker is placed on the mantel, something strange happens. At first, nothing seems amiss. The family carries on with their holiday plans, but the next night, they hear faint cracking noises. At first, they assume it's just the house settling, but the sound is rhythmic and precise, almost like something trying to break free. Late that night, their youngest daughter, Emily, wakes up to find the nutcracker's mouth moving on its own. At first, it's a small movement, but soon the wooden jaw opens wide, emitting a low, hollow sound as though it's speaking. Emily, terrified, tries to tell her parents, but they dismiss her as having bad dreams. But the next day, things begin to change. Emily starts drawing pictures of soldiers and strange figures from old fairy tales, and her behavior becomes erratic. Her parents notice the Nutcracker's eyes flicker when she gets too close to it. On Christmas Eve, Emily disappears. Her parents search frantically, but all they find is a trail of old Nutcracker shells leading into the living room. The family realizes too late that the Nutcracker is more than just a toy. It's a vessel for the spirit of an old soldier cursed to never leave. The Nutcracker had been carved by a man who sold his soul for immortality, and in return, his spirit was trapped inside. Every time the family gathers, the spirit grows stronger, feeding off their fear. To break the curse, the family must confront the soldier inside, but when they open the Nutcracker, the curse is released, and they must face an ancient force that will stop at nothing to claim their souls. The Santa Who Never Left. The small town of Pinebrook had always known the same Santa Claus for as long as anyone could remember. His suit was pristine, his laugh was contagious, and his eyes twinkled with a sense of joy that seemed almost otherworldly. But this year, something is different. On Christmas Eve, Santa disappears from the mall, his bag of toys left behind, and his jolly face gone from the holiday festivities. The townspeople search high and low, but there is no sign of him. Then strange things start happening. Toys are found scattered across town, small trinkets left at the foot of trees, and children waking up to presents that they swear weren't there the night before. As Christmas morning dawns, a group of children, curious and daring, decides to visit the mall and find out where Santa went. They enter the back room of the mall, where the workers have always told them Santa prepares for his next stop, only to find a hidden, cold chamber. There they discover the Santa suit, hanging on a rack, covered in dust and untouched by time. In the corner, however, there are fresh footprints, leading into a room that seems out of place. Suddenly, the door slams shut, and a tall, ominous figure appears in the doorway. The figure is wearing the Santa suit, but his face is covered in a blackened mask, and his eyes are hollow. His laugh is no longer jolly, it's a deep, distorted echo. The children try to run, but the figure steps forward, blocking their escape. The ghost of Santa Claus is not the joyful, benevolent spirit they remember. This Santa is a darker force, an ancient being who collects souls, offering gifts only to those who are willing to give something in return. Once you've met him, there is no going back. The children must now face a version of Santa that will stop at nothing to make their souls his Christmas gift. The Christmas Light Demon. The Winters family moves into a charming house on the edge of town, excited to start their first Christmas together. They decorate their home with thousands of lights, eager to join in the neighborhood's festive traditions. As the lights twinkle to life, a strange sensation washes over them. Something feels wrong, but they can't place it. That night, strange occurrences begin. Shadows dancing in the windows, noises in the attic, and the faint sound of whispers coming from the lights themselves. The lights flicker erratically, almost as if they're trying to communicate, but the messages are incoherent. As Christmas Eve approaches, the strange behavior grows more intense. The lights seem to pulse with energy, and the family starts hearing a voice, cold and harsh, coming through the bulbs. The voice calls them by name, speaking of an ancient demon bound to the Christmas lights, feeding off the energy and fear of those who unknowingly invoke it. The Winters family discovers the dark history behind their house. The lights were once part of an ancient ritual to trap the demon, but over the years the protective wards faded. Now the demon is free, seeking to claim the souls of the family, one by one, through the lights. To stop it, the Winters family must break the bond between the lights and the demon. But the creature has already begun to infiltrate their minds. The lights flicker in time with their heartbeat, and every attempt to turn them off only brings the demon closer to claiming them all.